dollar amount?
Dollar amount is going to be 11,384,728.
11.3. Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, Commissioner Alford. I'm sorry, Susan.
I understand y'all are gonna do a lot of capital projects. Do you have any idea what projects you're looking at?
I actually brought a list, um, and you're welcome to make copies of it. I double checked with Dr. Cash that it was okay. Now, keep in mind, it's not gone to the board yet, but the board is the one that has actually generated the list. So there's lots of stuff on there. It looks like they're going to end up amending somewhere between $4.5 and $5 million for all those projects. And that will go to the board this week, so that's not been approved. The only reason I asked Dr. Cash, did y'all know, and she said she had talked to a couple of people, is because that's going to drastically change that number I just gave you.
Yeah, about 4 million.
So,
So
just
that leaves, if you did all that, you're gonna at least have close to 8 million left.
about 6.6, which would be about a 7.4% if they amend that full amount, which I don't know for sure if they will.
So if you have 11, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna ask, what is the word?
The required percentage at the state is 3%. The required local percent is 5. Dr. Cash likes to keep it close to 7. So that would keep us just right above 7 if that gets approved. I know.
No comment.
I know. But the market's very unstable right now, Mr. Alford.
I'm not, did I say
Yeah,
nothing?
I know.
So you have roughly 11.3, and you estimate that after these
5 million or up
5,
to
6 million, you're going to spend on capital projects.
I mean, that's what they're proposing.
Okay.
Keep in mind that's not happened. Keep in mind
Given
that we have a board meeting Thursday night.
We get a copy?
Yes, I don't have copies made, but I brought one.
yeah, Lori can
Yeah,
make
if you
one.
give it to Lori, she can get it to us.
All right, Lori, I'll make a copy for it and get us to it later.
We're hearing repeat of everything that's being said coming through back here. The delayed comments.
Did we vote on?
Oh, that was him back there, maybe.
Did we vote on this yet?
Repeating sound, huh?
We're done with schools. All right. So Susan, I guess finishing up, the more that is in that undesignated fund balance, the more the less we have to borrow when we go for the science wing, right? Yeah. I was just making a statement. It wasn't. All right. Next one is the finance committee. Finance. She is decreasing expenses and on 791 and going into 7. So this is the same account. This is for the annex parking lot behind it. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment, finance. She's increasing revenue and she's increasing expenses. $24,511.25. And this is for the election lawsuit. This is the check from the insurance company, and I believe the deductible was already met.
insurance company has now reimbursed us everything but the deductible. So that deductible portion is still sitting out there in their budget.
Who's gonna pay the deductible? And the reason why I asked is I believe we asked Crystal when this first came up to come and give us an opinion, and I thought since this was a city election, that the city would pay the deductible.
I was not told any of that, so I don't.
Do you
I don't
remember that?
know.
We'll get back with Crystal and see if that's changed since then. That's my recollection. You guys were here that night.
Vaguely.
Well, as I recall,
All right,
Well, if they cut us a check to cover the deductible, then we'll do a budget amendment to put
sure,
back in
sure,
there.
sure. That's fine, but, I'll follow up on that. But right now, we gotta, bring the money into the budget. So, do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford, I have a second from Commissioner Cry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, passes 3-0. And there is the check.
Still wait.
Next budget amendment is coming from Register of Deeds. She is decreasing her reserve and she's putting it in her data processing, what she does every year about this time, $69,127.80. When this is done, she will have zero in the reserve account for this budget year. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. Have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, passes 3-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment, County Clerk. This is Donna's. She's doing basically the same thing. She's decreasing her reserve and she's putting in her expenses. She's itemizing it. Their deputies, FICA, TCRS, and archive fee. $270,857.21. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. Also note that this zeroes out the reserve account. Also, County Clerk, $28,079.95. Again, decreasing reserves and moving it into line 599. Title fees. How is her $5.99 title fees and everybody else's others?
It's listed in the budget as other, but that's what she calls it on her side.
We can name it line whatever we want. Okay. So, where are we at? Do I have a motion? Yeah. Do I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. Also, balance the zero on this reserve account. Continuing with the county clerk, she is decreasing reserves $23,404.25, and she's moving it into $4.99, and she gives it a nice little title there as well.
Well, that helps them to show what that money is for also. This is for title fees, this is for business tax. In our budget, it's.
But everybody else's $4.99 says other.
And it will say that in our system. This is just on their side.
Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. This also balances out to zero. Continuing with county clerk, decrease in reserves, $17,480 on the, and she is moving into 530. I'm assuming that's the right name. From the 22 reserve balance is zero. Do I have a motion to accept the presented, amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Oh, please, Commissioner Alford. I'm sorry, Commissioner Cry.
All of these, it's all legal. These are fees. I have a hard time understanding why they weren't turned into general fund. And placed on these items are going to, placed on the budget. Every year, I've been here 8 years, we've done this. I just have a problem with it. It's gotta be done, it's all legal. But we're creating piggy banks.
These are state statutes that the states designate certain fees that have to be only used for these items, so we reserve them. They do not budget for these during budget time because we don't give them budget money until they've spent their reserve fees.
I'm convinced it's illegal.
All right. Have we voted yet?
Mm-mm.
Sorry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment. Adult Recovery Court. Is this Amanda's?
This is Amanda's.
All right.
These are just, this reserve is just hers.
Okay, so we can do
We
it
can
now.
do this,
All
yes.
right. So she is decreasing her reserves because she didn't, yeah, she does the same thing. $106,286.22. She's moving money from her reserve into those two lines, 399 and 207. And this zeroes out her reserve account as well. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. The next one is adult drug. I cannot speak today. This is the one that we can either. So we're gonna roll these because I got some questions on this one. So that's okay with you, Commissioner Cry, Commissioner Alford. Yeah. And the next one is misdemeanor probations. The 10,500 needs to be rolled. And the next one, misdemeanor probations, for 10,500 needs to be rolled as well. And I believe those are all right there. The next one would be court community services. Decreasing expenses from account 51100 over to account 53900. We need to decrease the other charges accounts and then turn it into supplies and materials. All right. Renee, are you familiar with what happened with someone stole their lawnmower and all that, and they've submitted
They submitted
a
a claim to the
their police
insurance.
report and insurance has reimbursed them or whatever?
Yeah, the next one is their insurance check. Their garage got broken into and they had a bunch of equipment that was stolen. The insurance company looks at it and takes the depreciation off of it. This is the deductible. Of course, we have this deductible on everything. And then the insurance company gave them the balance.
Okay. Oh, so you basically we're approving the moving the money and then accepting the check. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. The next one is the check for $3,037.72. And I guess their typewriter didn't work because they decided to write in. Is this the only check that we're gonna get for this? All right. We have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. And there's the check there. All right, moving on. Now we're into Circuit Court Clerk. She is decreasing her reserve and increasing her expenses in the following lines, about $59,542.06. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. And this also zeroes out her reserve account. Continuing on to Circuit Court Clerk. She is decreasing revenue. She's moving money out of the undesignated fund balance.
That should be fund balance, not revenue.
Did you hear the correction? It's just, it should be just the fund balance, not the undesignated fund balance. 39000 is the fund balance. $73,435 even, and she's putting it in line 317. So let's get a motion in a second. There's a little bit to talk about this one. A motion from Commissioner Cry, I have a second from Commissioner Alford. So this is kind of a new thing, if you will, that's happening. I chatted with her the other day. Here's the General Assembly passed a new law that basically says that when money is paid to the court system, the hierarchy or the priority of who gets money first has been changed. Now, quote unquote, I hope my definitions or my terminology is correct, but the victims are first. So if you owe $10,000 and you only pay $7,000, you obviously still owe $3,000, but the victims are going to get their money first, not the court system. This has put Gala, I wouldn't say in a bind, but basically there's still some outstanding liability that's due, but she's got to have the funding in order to, keep going. So basically, because the law changed on the priority, is affected her, and it's also, from what I understand, it's going to affect anything that the courts are collecting money for. Basically, we're at the bottom of the totem pole. One of the things that came to mind was that I believe they collect $1 for the law library, which we're required to have by law. I think it's like comes into about 13,000 or something like that a year. It is now at the bottom of the totem pole as well. So unless if somebody pays their amount in full, then everybody gets their money. But if they only pay partial, then those that at the bottom of the totem pole are going to be sitting there waiting. And apparently there's a big backlog. So that gives you a little insight on why this is going on. The question also I had for her was, is this going to be something we have to do every year now? I mean, the law is the law now, and she has to follow it. And she can't budget for it because it's a reason. Well, she could be able to budget for it next year, right?
We asked we asked them to not budget for money in those reserve lines because you want them to spend the reserve money first. They have that money sitting over there. This one, the reserves did not come in. I mean, the revenue did not come in, so that there was nothing to reserve in this particular line.
Right.
I'm not sure how this is going to affect it. We're just going to have to watch how it works out this year and see how it does. We know what the reserves are when I get ready to close the year, but I mean, we can kind of watch the revenue as it come in. This one just did not come in and bring anything in. Right.
And the last question, well, there's two more questions. She's asked for $73,435. We looked at the budget from last year. They moved, I think, 66,000, and she went with just the cost of increase of inflation and for 73, which seems reasonable. But I guess, Renee, my question is, she didn't really know, their money is going to come into that reserve account. Let's just say that somebody did pay up what they owed, and everybody's good, the victim, so to speak, and then the courts and stuff like that. It's going to go into that reserve account. Are we going to reimburse, quote unquote, the fund balance? Because at that point, or are we going to let it build up and then?
That will be a question that we need to ask Crystal. That revenue is state statute to go into that reserve only for her to spend it. So that one's a question I'm not sure.
But that reserve account's been funding that line all along. So we haven't been breaking the law.
No.
All right, so we need to ask Crystal that on how future reserve money as it comes in is gonna be allocated. Does it basically fund that line continuously, or does it pay back the fund balance? Is it, if it pays back the fund balance, this is basically just forwarding her money until she gets her money. Does that make sense? Clear as mud?
Wait and see matter. Do?
Yeah, that's all we can do. But for right now, she's gotta have this in there so she can keep on going. So we have a motion, yeah, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. All right, that was a unique one. We haven't seen that one. There's her letter, and there's the state law that changed the priority. The other thing I asked her is, this is obviously a state law, so all circuit clerks should be in this same kind of situation. So, and she wanted me to know that she was not happy about that. She let Senator Bell at the time know that what was this ramification. Moving on. Where we got Hannah Goodson. Agriculture, sorry. 36 whopping dollars. Increase in expenses, decrease in expenses, $36. It's going into office supplies. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. Moving on to the next amendment. Tri-State Exhibition, $48,998.50. She is decreasing expenses on account, and she's moving it all into, looks like her wages, 100 and 200 series from her 169. So I guess the part-time person's gone and they're going full-time? Okay, so remind me, I guess, go ahead, because you know where I'm going with this.
Budget time, they moved the money from a full-time person into part-time. They've decided now they want it back in full-time.
So they did a 180. Okay. Because I was getting ready to say, all right, that's fine. If you're going to move the 48,000, call it 49,000 from your part-time over into a full-time, then don't ask for part-time money again.
There's still just a small amount of money, probably maybe $1,000 or so. But during budget, they had talked about only using part-time. So they moved money from a full-time position with benefits into part-time.
Right, I get it. But next year, when they fill out their budget request, we're going to look to see how much they request for part-time. And that's what I'm going to have Lori remind me of.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion to accept the amendment as presented from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. Next one is the Health Department, 69,000 even, going from the fund balance into other contributions, 69,000. This is a grant.
This money was in there at the end of the budget year. We did not spend it at the end of the budget year, so it rolled into fund balance. She's just asking you to bring it back out.
Sure. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Cry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. All right. Then we get into EMS. A whole whopping $35 is decreasing expenses from 307 over to 320. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Cry. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment. Bradley County EMA, $1,358.27, decreasing expenses from 309 over to 718. Move funds from 309 to 780 to cover vehicle. We did a lot of budget amendments already for his vehicle,
Well, if you'll read there, they had this in the 21-22 budget.
right?
They had the vehicle ordered, manufacturer canceled it, said that
They didn't like our money?
evidently there were a huge number of this particular vehicle ordered, and they're making just a very small amount, so they canceled ours.
Okay, so they canceled the order,
But
That means he
needs-
never had to spend the money.
No, but he's needing this much more to complete to buy whatever it is he's looking for.
So what he wants is more than what the original order is by $1,358, and he's willing to take it out of his contract with government agencies to purchase this said vehicle that costs more. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. Have a second from Commissioner Cry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. So Director Spence now has his vehicle. All right.
Chairman,
Yeah, please, Commissioner Alford.
do we have any idea what he's gonna do with his old one?
He has not, I have not discussed with
It
him
was,
what he's
I
gonna
thought he was gonna put on gov.deals or liquidate it or something like that. But Lori, if you'll remind me to send an email or asking what he's doing with it.
I
That'd
know
be-
there's one old one sitting down there behind the annex. I guess that might be it.
Was it that F4
That's the
250?
one- That's the one I believe that's, went to planning and engineering, and it's needing some work on it, I think.
So it's an inter-department loan or
Inter-
giveaway,
yeah,
whatever.
there's-
So,
Yeah.
Lori, I asked what the deal is. Commissioner Alford, we'll find out.
What I was gonna say is that if we're gonna pay, or somebody gonna buy this, what we're gonna use that money, could we not use that money to pay the difference?
Absolutely, let's find out. I mean, are we just giving it to, who did you say it was going to?
I'm thinking that that vehicle is going to planning and engineering.
Planning it, which would be Bentley.
Bentley's, I'm not positive that's what that one is down there.
We'll find out when Lori sends over and if Bentley has any money in his budget to pay back this part. Is that what you're going?
Yeah, just pay back that part there, that over, that was $1,1300 over.
Yeah.
But it, rather than
Yeah, 'cause it
us
was-
spending our money, let them pay the difference if they get money out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Okay.
Mr. Cry.
Yes, is this, Roy, is this the one that was canceled? Is that the only new pickup truck or vehicle?
I believe in that budget year it was.
Please, lights that out.
All right, we'll get some answers. All right, moving on to the next budget amendment.
Your next two budget amendments are sale of equipment from Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, we can take those up as a package.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got, the next two are going to be sale of equipment. I believe it's because some deputies are retiring or something that, yeah, taser or something like that. Is that right?
Well, one of them is we're selling,
Oh, I can, never
Yeah.
mind. Well, I'm gonna take these up individually
Okay.
because, there's a reason why. So this is a budget amendment, $14,380, sale of equipment, and she is putting the money, from the proceeds of that sale into 431. They sell, you remember we purchased the new tasers, the double barrel shotgun tasers or whatever they call them? And they sold off the old ones. So these are the proceeds from that. I called Cassandra and asked her, I was like, well, if it was my understanding that when we purchased those double barrel shotgun tasers that that any proceeds from the old tasers would go to help purchase the new tasers. And she informed me that she used, quote unquote, her money out of this line, and she's only, quote unquote, reimbursing herself from that. So, in essence, the money did go to help purchase the new tasers from the old tasers in a roundabout way, right? So, do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented from Commissioner Cry? Have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. Wait here. And there's the serial numbers and all the supporting documentation. The next one's also Bradley County Sheriff, sale of equipment, $818. This is a deputy who's left, and he's been allowed to purchase his weapon. Tradition we've done, once they meet the criteria of 20 years or something like that. Anyway, do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Cry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 3-0. And there's the letter supporting that and the documentation. Next one is Bradley County Sheriff's Office, $19,982.39 is money coming in, increasing the revenue and increasing expenses. She's putting it in 709 data processing equipment. This is money that I guess that she got from the COVID grant, in the amount of 75,000 air purifications and computers. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Cry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0. And there's the supporting documentation. Then we get to the next budget amendment. This is also a grant, right? The JAG grant.
Chairman,
Yes, please,
just a question. Hey, might be able to help me.
please.
I've noticed 3 different departments here are reserved for data processing equipment.
Those reserves, that's what they're statutorily designated for, is data processing.
Processing equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any idea what this equipment is? Cause I've seen 3 of these things go through here. It says data processing equipment.
Well, like the one for circuit court, it's their computer upgrades, the software upgrades, anything like that that goes with their equipment. And this one is equipment out the sheriff's department. This is a grant that comes through.
It's something with the
city.
monitors and the patrol cars, right?
And but this grant actually flows through the city and then comes to us. I think if you'll notice, the
Yeah.
check is from the city. And this one we've had for quite a while. So yeah, they can only buy things that are that do with data processing. Monitors, computers, the software.
I just think it'd be very beneficial, to me anyway, if they list what they're using that data processing money for.
Okay.
That's kind of a broad area, just data processing. To me, that's too broad for us to understand what they're using.
Commissioner Cry, I'm sorry, Commissioner Alford, you good?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Yep, Commissioner Cry, recognize.
Just like to hitchhike on Commissioner Alford, I don't think there's enough explanation as to what this money goes for on IT. I find it hard to believe a laptop or a table computer goes out of service every year, because we have this same deal every year and on IT, and I just find it hard to believe that equipment is broad enough explanation. I'm willing to go along this year, but we need to tighten the screws down a little bit.
Okay. We'll ask them anything in data processing that they tell us what they're buying.
Appreciate it, thank you.
We can see in the account analysis. With that same thought on reserve accounts, Commissioner Cry, since we're getting into a new term and we'll have 2 new members here pretty soon, it's probably a good idea in the October, if it works out, to go review the TCA codes and the reserve accounts. We did that about 4 or 5 years ago. We had a list of all the TCA codes and all the reserve accounts and specifically what that money's for. So that I'll look that way, there's no way there, but the 2 new members will understand what we're dealing with when we move money out of reserve accounts and stuff like that. So Laura, if you'll help me with that, and it'll be a refresher for us. But in the account analysis, you'll be able to see what they do with it. Have we voted on this? So we have a motion from, we have motions and seconds. I have a motion from Commissioner Cry, I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 3-0.
Okay, these 2 are services rendered, the last 2.
And there's on that, I'm gonna get back up, Commissioner Cry, on that same thought. I mean, we do, in their budget request, I believe we gave them about 80,000, I'm talking to the sheriff's office for their IT department. So this is in addition to that. So they did, it is worth knowing what you're saying, so.
I just feel that we're not tying them down, not picking on the sheriff's department.
No.
I'm talking about all of them across the board. Just is illogical to me that we can't.
And I was trying to think, did she put a copy of that grant with that? Because this one is, the JAG grant that comes through every year, and it tells this tells what they're buying with it.
As long as we know what they're buying.
And they get audited on it.
Yes, the
Yeah.
grants are audited. The grants are normally, the big grants are audited with a state auditor that's specifically for that grant, and then they're also audited inside our audit.
Right. But if they're using grant money to purchase a piece of equipment, then they don't have to use property
Right.
tax money to buy that
That is
equipment.
correct.
Yeah. All right, you said the rest of the
The
amendments are
last two
services
amendments
rendered?
are services rendered.
All right, so we'll take those up as a package. That's okay with you too?
Great.
All right, so, the rest of the amendments are services rendered. Do I have a motion to accept the rest of the amendments as a package? Have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Cry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed, say no. Passes 3-0. That should conclude, the budget packet, and we'll go back to the agenda. We don't have any agenda items, so we are open floor. Anybody have anything? Welcome Commissioner Rogers and Commissioner Gilbert. I guess right now, as it stands, but subject to change, our next finance meeting will be the first Monday of October. There was, when I talked to the mayor the other day, there might be something come up from IDB that we had to take up pretty quick. But we'll see once IDB tells us about it. All right, please. With a,
When are we gonna discuss some of the capital projects that we might wanna use this extra money for? Like, light. Park.
well, we discussed it at the last finance meeting.
We're gonna get more specific or? Just, I know the mayor said we'd have like about 2 million, a little over 2 million, a little over somewhere in that neighborhood, or we don't have any idea yet on the bucket, how much we have left over in certain areas.
We have an idea of how much. The one that he's referring to is the last bucket. And in that one, we budgeted $1 million for the 100-foot ladder and then the ambulance. So that left us, I think, about 600,000. So that's up for discussion whenever this committee feels. If you want to put it on the agenda for the October, more than happy to do so.
I would like to at least get into the discussion stage.
Right.
Start maybe mentioning pricing or something, especially areas.
Right, I think that I know that there's a couple of things out there that we've been given a heads up on, but it hasn't really, they haven't formally requested it, but they're reimbursing it. So at the October finance meeting, we'll start the discussions on that. And we should have some balances. Hopefully, the second allotment will be in by
Yeah, I'm
then.
gonna try this afternoon to draw it down,
Okay.
the second, our second allotment of money.
And if memory serves, it should be almost the exact same amount as the first one, 10.5 or something like that.
So have our buckets and everything. Did the mayor include that, this allotment into
Yes,
the
this
bucket?
allotment is got the buckets for the water, the sewer, the broadband, you know.
But we have no idea how much we're gonna spend on any of that stuff yet.
We have an idea. We budgeted for it.
How much we gonna spend on broadband?
4 million.
How
Well,
much
that's what
did
we
have
ear-
in-
that's
how
what we-
much bucket money do you have? That's what I'm getting.
For broadband,
Mhm.
we earmarked 4 million, and I believe there's going to be something tonight we discussed to start spending that. Give me 1 second, and we'll go over that. And the current, this is, yeah. What fund is that? 128.
Yes.
By the way, while I'm doing it, how's our friends over in the Rose Department? Did they everything going over there? I'm looking at 131 right here. All right. there. This is what's been budgeted. All these right here. Current budget we're in right now. City Fields, Caring Place, Habitat,
Yeah,
United Way. So, so that fund you're referring to, the $1 million for the 100-foot ladder and 195 for the other ambulance. That's how much left over. But
And I guess that 2 million I'm asking, is that all the buckets left over that we
that's
spent?
all the buckets. But what we need to do is how much is left out per bucket.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. So we have an idea how much money we actually have that we
All right.
can spend some other way.
We kind of did that the other day, but I'll get with Lori and we'll put a report together. There's what, 6 buckets, 7 buckets? I can't remember. Obviously, the bonus bucket is done. The affordable housing bucket is done. Water, we're getting ready to use. Sewer, I think that's what the mayor talked about. Broadband, we're getting ready to start on. And then the one that the 100-foot ladder's coming out of. So basically, take all your buckets, the beginning balance, how much has been spent,
Right.
and what's the balance per bucket.
That's what I'd like.
That's what we'll get. We'll be ready to talk about that in October.
And I think it'd be a good idea to make a note to these commissioners if they've got something on their bucket list, a project that out there that may be a one-time expense that they might convey that to us too.
All right, anything else? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Capital project spending. Oh, maybe, gotta think. Florida State beat LSU, think positive. Good Lord. He's blind. How is Nancy doing? Doing all right. She ain't saying nothing.